Hello, and thank you for joining us today for the NewMR and YouScan webinar. I'm delighted to be here. In the next 25 minutes or so, we'll be looking into how market research practitioners can tackle issues with the social data and do faster and better research with the help of AI. Before we start, let me introduce myself. My name is Orap. I'm the founder and Chief Growth Officer at YouScan. This year, the Social Intelligence Lab included me on the Insider 50, which is a first curated list of social intelligence professionals. YouScan is a social media intelligence platform established in Ukraine over a decade ago. Back then, we were among the pioneers of the social media listening industry. And since then, we have kept building one of the most sophisticated platforms for social media analytics on a global market. We are a team of 75 people, software developers, data science experts, and analysts, with our main R&D office located in Kyiv and a distributed team in 13 countries across Europe, US, and Mexico. We serve more than 400 customers, including major consumer brands and agencies. Among other accolades and recognitions from our customers and industry experts, YouScan was named Cool AI Vendor for Marketing by Gartner and the Best Social Media Monitoring Software in MarTech Breakthrough Awards. Now, with the explosion of social media usage across the globe, social media listening is not exactly a new research methodology, and as I mentioned, it has been around for over a decade now. Still, it has not yet been fully embraced as one of the standard market research tools, I think. And in fact, many research professionals have some valid reasons to be somewhat skeptical about the usefulness of social data. Let's dissect some of them quickly. Social data is very unstructured. It's not uniform. Look at this post on Reddit, consumer review on Google Maps, and TikTok. They all have very different formats, and it's not an easy task to reconcile them for analytics, though they are all related to the same brand. Social media is noisy. There are a lot of genuine consumer opinions shared there, of course, but also a lot of self-promotion, commercial content, or outright spam. There is too much free text data, and it's hard to synthesize it for insights. Social media discussions are often vague and nuanced, and of course, there is a question of representativeness, or the loud minority argument. There is a common lore about only 1% of social media users being active content creators, the other 10% being commenters, and all others being lurkers. And though this proportion might have changed slightly over time, indeed, we can't claim that social data is truly representative. Luckily, with the advances in AI, it becomes easier to tackle all these issues and turn social data into valuable insights that can be acted upon. And as for representativeness issue, there is a strong counter-argument that I will drop later in my presentation. Now, being cognizant of all these social data issues, we also need to face the reality of multiple challenges and market forces that the research industry has to deal with today. There is, of course, a need for faster and more agile research and, in general, increased demand for data and insights. On the other hand, many research professionals I talk to mention what we can call supply issues like participant crisis, survey fatigue, low show-up rates, and repeat respondents. And I believe many of you can relate to these problems. And I would argue that social media addresses these challenges and needs quite neatly, but only if you're equipped with the right tools. Let's see. First, social data can enable rapid research. Basically, you can fire up your social media listening tool like YouScan or some other and get the initial data set to be analyzed in minutes. And this is especially important if you are dealing with an unfolding crisis, or doing product launch analysis, or just need to get some initial data samples to test out some hypotheses quickly. On social media, you can have access to very niche communities that you would have difficulty finding elsewhere. And you can study their members' opinions and attitudes, or in other words, do digital ethnography. Social media listening gives you access to undistorted opinions. Sometimes social media is called the biggest focus group in the world, but I think it's not exactly correct. Because people share their views on social media absolutely unguided. So it's a great source of consumer opinions and feedback that you wouldn't be able to solicit using other research methods like traditional focus groups, for example. And anonymity also can be one of the reasons why people share their unfiltered opinions on social media. You can use a nickname on many social platforms, blogs and forums, and not disclose your real identity, so you might be more willing to discuss sensitive topics, for example. It can be argued, of course, that feedback from anonymous respondents is not that useful because it can't be matched with demographic information, but still, in many cases, it can be a great source of insights because of its authenticity. And of course, on social media, you can glimpse what consumers actually do, not just what they say. For that, you may analyze not only their textual posts, but also the images and photos they share. In YouScan, we apply two types of artificial intelligence to get insights from social data: supervised and unsupervised machine learning. With supervised learning, we feed the machine with the training data that was previously annotated by human experts. And this way, we train deep neural networks and machine learns how to distinguish between different types or classes of data. For example, positive and negative mentions or different colors in these illustrations. In this illustration. Having the machine sufficiently trained, we can then apply these neural networks to do data classification at scale. In unsupervised learning, we let the machine cluster the data and uncover anomalies and trends in the data independently without human involvement. When applied to textual data from social media, unsupervised learning algorithms can spot emerging trends in massive volumes of discussions about a specific topic or industry. For example, we analyzed discussions about craft beer on social media for the half-year period, and the algorithms picked up an increasing volume of mentions related to one specific flavor of beer, pale ale. It is apparently growing in popularity. Such AI-powered analysis can be valuable for marketing, ideation, and new product development, for example. It can also help study long-term consumer trends. For example, this chart from our platform tracks the discussions related to so-called cruelty-free cosmetics, which wasn't tested on animals. And we see that consumers' interest in this topic peaked around 2 years ago and is slowly decreasing. On the other hand, supervised learning can be applied to quickly categorize vast amounts of textual data, for example, to detect sentiment and consumers' attitudes towards predefined aspects or attributes of a product or a brand, like price, reliability, design, customer service, and so on. Now, there is a massive shift underway in social media. It's becoming more and more visual. People share publicly billions of photos and images there daily. And for market researchers, it's a new opportunity to see real-life consumption situations from the consumer perspective and learn about behaviors and brand associations and, in general, get a whole new layer of insights. In YouScan, we process 50 million images from social media daily, and the AI does all the heavy lifting in categorizing them and making them accessible for analysis. Our computer vision engine detects hundreds of brand logos and more than 1,000 different objects, scenes, activities, and demographic parameters. Now, let's see how it works in practice on actual data in the YouScan platform. Now, this is how actual topics that you listen to on social media with YouScan platform may look like. They can be brand related, for example, for EV brands, Tesla and Polestar here, or they can be broad topics like for category research of craft beers, for example, or EV tax credit related discussions, analysis in this specific topic. You can organize data collection by keywords or by more complex search queries, like here, for example, or by collecting images that contain brand logo, like in this Heineken topic, we collect only posts that contain images with Heineken logo in them. In this preview, you can already glimpse some long-term trends, like for example, EV credits related discussions are past their peak, so this topic is slowly moving out of active public interest, I guess. Now let's have a quick look at text analytics for the brand related discussions of Tesla. And for our qualitative research purposes, we can of course read actual mentions of the brand or narrow down the scope of our analysis to particular subset of mentions that the system already pre-categorized for us automatically using AI. For example, brand comparisons. And we see here posts where people compare Tesla brand, Tesla products to other brands, like I sold my BMW and get Tesla, I feel superior to other drivers on the road in my Tesla, and so on, so forth. Alternatively, we can focus on broader concepts or more abstract concepts. We call them subjects, also detected by the AI, like fashion, tourism, religion, science, and so on and so forth. And for example, we can have a look at what people have to say about the brand in the context of politics. And here we have this data set for our qualitative research, and we can see which words are used frequently here, and so on and so forth. We can also look at the data through a very, very different lens, through audience insights, and see what are the demographics, interests, and occupations of people that discuss the topic that we research look like. This is also an AI-powered capability based on analysis of public bias descriptions of post authors. And we can, of course, drill down and see the content behind each of these interests or occupations or demographics of authors of posts related to Tesla in this case. For more quantitative approach, let's navigate to the analytics section here, and we can spot some hot discussions that are driving discussions and engage the audience. They can be negative, they can be positive, they can be neutral, so the system detects sentiment automatically here. We can also dive into aspects sentiment analysis. Again, AI-powered classifications. The system already classified all discussions in this topic, so we can see how users perceive different attributes of the brand or product. For example, quality, performance, usability, and so on and so forth. We can see here that the functionality and usability are praised by consumers, while customer service gets a lot of complaints. So what we can do is we can again move to the qualitative approach here and see what are these specific posts that mention customer service negatively have to say. And we even can narrow down and focus on even more specific data set. For example, Google business reviews, which are really interesting because people often leave location-related feedback on Google Maps. So we can see some discussions related to negative customer service experience. As you can see, it's very easy to get back and forth between qualitative assessment and quantitative research and focus on aspects of the data that interest us most for our specific research purposes that we have at the moment. Now let's see what image analysis capabilities can reveal about the Heineken beer brand and what we can learn from all the photos that people share every day on social media that contain the brand's logo. Let's do some true digital semiotics here. And I will navigate to the section of our platform called Visual Insights. The first report here shows us which scenes, objects, and activities are prevalent in images that contain Heineken beer. Now, AI categorizes images in different ways. It detects types of persons, activities, scenes, objects, and other brand logos in these images. And we can choose even a more narrow subset of data and, for example, focus our attention on genuine consumer photos. We can even choose some subtypes of images like selfies or still life photography, see which other brand logos are present here. Often in the images with Heineken, there's a potential for brand collaboration can be revealed. Look at specific objects, scenes, persons, activities, and we can even see which colors are dominant in user photos featuring brand logo. So that can give us some insights if the brand book colors, for example, match the ways that the brand is actually seen in consumer lives. Now, this image has been recently one of the most engaged on social media with the brand logo. We see that it got 5 million views on TikTok, tons of likes, reposts, shares, comments, and so on and so forth. It doesn't mention the brand explicitly in the text, but the brand logo here is front and center. So for marketing and PR teams, that will be an interesting piece of data already, and maybe the brand can leave a comment there or get in touch with the guy to discuss some brand collaborations. But for us researchers, it may reveal another interesting trend, which is a shake beer challenge. May this be some new consumer fad that is getting traction? We may have this hypothesis, and we may start collecting, analyzing discussions related to this specific consumer trend on social media and see what it can reveal us. Now, it's easy to see that sports-related images are very common here because the brand often advertises on sporting events. We see football players, teams, athletes, and football and competition. Let's see which other scenes are often scenes on images with Heineken beers. So I will focus on scenes here and switch off all other types of visual tags. What we see here is that the friendship is a common scene. And if we click on it, you'll see all images related to this particular brand consumption situation, which we may categorize as friendship. Okay, let's go back to our overview report here, and we can also have a closer look at objects which appear often in these photos. And I noticed that there is an object which is sunglasses, often seen, and we can already glimpse that it's often associated with scenes related to vacation, summer, travel, friendship, sea, outdoor recreation, beach. So let's have a look at the sea. Okay, so we see here some posts from, I guess, some influencers or micro-influencers that get a lot of attention on social media, and brand logo is featured quite prominently here. But in general, what we have here is a visually rich set of data that shows us how a brand is associated with the moments of consumption related to good times, summer vibes, vacations, and so on. Now let's see if we can find something really unusual about this beer brand in the photos. The system lets you change the insights range to uncover some visual clues that may be less prevalent and more obscure for the moment, but still which may be really interesting. So here we have baking and cake decorating, which is not something you'd expect in relation to the beer brand. And if we have a closer look, it appears that Heineken is quite a popular object for birthday cake decorating, and consumers really love to share these images like this one. This is an insight that would be hard to spot otherwise if you wouldn't be equipped with the computer vision AI that can understand images and help you uncover interesting things like that. You can also spot visuals that are growing in popularity. For that we have this trends detection feature here, and if we look closer at different activities which are growing in popularity, we'll see driving here. So let's inspect this, and if we navigate to the gallery, we'll see that a lot of these images are related to car racing competitions, but also we'll see that some of these images, they have this situation where people share their photos drinking at the wheel, which is not a great idea, of course. And while these images may be not that often, luckily, but it can be an insight for the brand and a call to action, perhaps, for the brand. Lastly, I want to show you how you can compare visual context of competing brands' appearance in consumer lives. For this, I will quickly take you to the logo comparison report, where I have selected 3 beer brands: Heineken, Carlsberg, and Guinness. The system automatically detects scenes and objects that differentiate brands the most, as seen on the images. It can be very helpful for assessing and developing the brand's positioning, for example. Here, in this report, it becomes clear that Heineken and Carlsberg are not that differentiated in a sense that both brands often appear in images related to sporting events like football player, sportswear, sports, player, ball. While Guinness is really different because much more images actually contain beer itself, and this brand is much more often seen indoors, in the bars and pubs, in consumption situations related to friendship. On the other hand, Heineken and Carlsberg are much more often seen consumed on vacations. So now we've just scratched the surface of what's possible, but I believe you can already envision how you can both reveal previously unknown unknowns in the visual data, find consumer insights, or test your hypothesis and see the brands from consumer perspective in different consumption situations. To conclude my presentation, I'll quickly touch on that question of representativeness. Meme stock trading recently began as an isolated phenomenon in one of the retail traders' communities on Reddit. And then it quickly took the stock market by storm. It created billions of enterprise value for some businesses and wiped it off for others. I think it's a perfect real-life illustration of why social data matters greatly and why we should not easily dismiss the trends we can spot on social media, no matter how representative or not they seem to us at the beginning. Thank you very much for listening. If you'd like to try AI-powered social data analysis for your research projects, please follow this link to request your demo access. We'll set up a trial account for you and let you play with the actual data. Now, happy to answer your questions.